cops on me. On a mission to be champs since they let me free.
Prepare for combat, my adversaries crumble. Face it, I got a reputation for damage. Busters get ready to rumble. They lock me in a cell, have me trapped in a living hell. Though not guilty, I'm still in jail. Brother, I serve my time like a soldier. Maintain composure. My shadow boxing, a fight to the death. Busting boulders, every boxer with a pair of gloves. Best give up love. Here's a man from the makings of a thug. A lethal weapon, mind sharp. And in my heart, there's a wish to shake the world with the flurry of my black fist. Now once a high school dropout, now I'm the $1 million champ. Who's the next to get knocked out? Straight out of Brooklyn and worldwide.
What's going on, everybody? Another episode of Cheap Seats Box Show. Angelo here. Yes, we did it to you guys again. It is another solo episode. This time it is my turn, as JP cannot make it to us. Maybe we should just start meeting at home. But actually, we try to get this in when we're at work because time is of the essence at this point. So we do apologize for that. Trust me, we're going to get this all worked out, man. It's just Christmas time already started for us. And it is a pain in the ass, guys. There's no other way around it, man. It is getting tougher and tougher. The beginning of the year, it usually gets real smooth. And as the year goes on, it gets tougher. But the good thing is, the action has cooled off a little bit. It picked up this last weekend. More of the talk of fighting rather than fighting itself. First things first, follow us on Twitter at Cheap Seats Box, iTunes. Rate and review. You will be the next unofficial sponsor. We will shout you out. That's what we do. That's how we do things. It is more important than ever. I said that not that long ago. It's even more important because the latest update on the iPhone, which is where the majority of podcasts get listened to, is on the iPhone podcast app. They only show now the top 8 results. So the fact that we are 4 is a big deal. So if anybody searches boxing, we will be the 4th show that pops up. And when you guys do the rate and review, we are the 4th show they see. And it gets tough. They have to find you. They have to go find you other ways. But this way, people don't even have to be looking for us to find us. And that's a big key moving forward as the results get smaller and smaller on iTunes. So if you could do that, we'd really, really appreciate it. You can email me, cheapseatsboxing@gmail.com. Questions, comments, anything like that. I always get back to you. And welcome to all the listeners, all the platforms. We are on fucking ungodly amounts of them, including the original old school Zune listener. And you know what? If you can, keep on going over to the YouTube page. We just put up our show. Maybe next year I'm going to try to convert into something different on YouTube as well. There will be added features onto YouTube. But if you guys could do that, please get that profile up for us. We'd really appreciate it. Let's just say this. And I know this ain't going to come off to some of you guys because some of you guys don't give a shit. But honestly, I don't care. How about them Astros? Man, I tell you what, and that's why I missed last week, man. I was all enthralled into the World Series. I was not going to be doing a show if I couldn't get into it at work, and I couldn't, and so that's what happened. And then I spent the rest of the weekend partying, went to the parade, was down there with the crazies, jumping on top of buildings. We jumped up 2 buildings onto air conditioning units to see the parade as it went by. It was an amazing experience. And that's why I missed last week. But I had to get that out. I waited 43 years for my Astros to win the World Series. So this last weekend, we had some action. I'm gonna hit these real fast. Jesus Soto-Carras gets retired by Juan Carlos Abreu. I mean, what did you guys expect? And let's be honest, this Golden Boy on ESPN thing, it's just, like I said a while back, it's making me yearn for the days of fucking Friday night fights. It really has brought nothing to the table. The Golden Boy on ESPN, it has done nothing. It is actually a step below what the PBC was doing on there. Yeah, it's more consistent, but it really doesn't bring much, and you're getting a lot of recycled fighters, guys who you think were almost done with it, who are still fighting. And so I'm not really feeling the Golden Boy part of it. I kind of missed the Ring TV. I know you had to go look for it, but it kind of fit the level of fight that they were producing, the fights that were coming out, the young up-and-comers. And I think they've gotten away from that, and they're trying to throw names on there. And to me, it just isn't working. I'm just not a big fan of what's going on with Golden Boy and ESPN. HBO had Dimitri Bivol getting the KO one against Trent Broadhurst. Look, Bivol is one of the great young light heavyweights. He's a scary guy. He's a scary proposition for anybody at 175 who's still there. He got one of the was it the W? Oh fuck, guys, I'm sorry. He got one of the titles that that Andre Ward dropped. But he's only 12 fights in. He's still got a ways to go. He is a not necessarily a prospect, but he's still, even though he's a champion, unproven. He's an unproven champion, which is exactly what is like the norm nowadays. You're either a prospect champion or unproven champion, one of the two. He falls into the latter. The Showtime card, and I think that's where everybody was at, really, was watching Sergey Lipinets. He got the win over the Japanese guy. Oh shit, I fucking lost it. But it doesn't matter. The point was, Lipinets didn't impress as much as he has in the past, and people were already down on him. Like, those Japanese fighters, they're going to bring their best, and they're going to fucking be a problem for whoever. And if you ain't on top of your game, we've said this many times, if you're not on top of your game for a Japanese fighter, they're going to fuck you up a little bit. And he got a little bit of that. He got the clear win, and so people are down on him now a little bit. But let's let things play out. Let's not just jump to conclusions there. We'll see what's next for him. You've already heard rumors of Adrian Broner. I don't know, man. Adrian Broner's to the point to where I don't even know if he's a top 10 140 guy. I really don't. There's not much left on that bone for me when it comes to Adrian Broner. Sean Porter, Adrian Granados for the WBC Silver welterweight title. How Granados got that, I don't understand, because he just lost to Broner in a fight that I actually scored for him, but I had no problem with Broner getting the decision. I don't know how that translates into a shot at at a silver title, which will get you in line for a shot at Keith Thurman's WBC welterweight title. But it really was a case of Porter just being the bigger, stronger guy. Porter is who Porter is. He's never going to be aesthetically pleasing, but he's going to bring his fucking heart. He's going to bring his lunch pail, and you better bring yours if you want to win a fight against Sean Porter. I know that it puts him in line for a possible rematch now with Keith Thurman. I don't know if I'm really looking forward to that as much. But honestly, where do you put Porter? Because he's in between the elite world level welterweights and then the second tier. He's he's caught in limbo at that point. He's better than those guys like a Granados, like almost every other guy at the lower level of the welterweight division, but not as good as the elites. But how can you not root for a guy who always comes in shape, always puts everything out on the line? He is taking the baton from Tim Bradley, is that workhorse guy, just a workman-like fighter at 147. And look, like I said, not aesthetically pleasing, but I appreciate every time he fights, and I like the guy. And it's hard not, if you don't like a Sean Porter, you may not like the way he fights, but if you can't respect how he conducts himself and how he handles himself, then honestly you fucking don't like boxing. You like the gimmick and the spectacle of boxing. You don't really truly appreciate what the time and the effort that it takes to get to that elite level, because he's definitely a guy who has maximized his potential. And how many guys have we seen actually do the opposite of that and not actually maximize their true potential? I'm a Sean Porter fan, always will be. But the main fight, of course, was Deontay Wilder, his KO one over Bermane Stiverne. And let's just be honest, Stiverne was a fat fuck. There's no other way around it. I'm going to be honest. It's pretty easy for me to say I could have done better. It's literally, I could have done better than Bermane Stiverne. You can't fucking argue with me because I already know what the litmus test is. I got to throw more than 4 punches, and I'm better than him. I don't even have to land any because he didn't land any. I can take 3 fucking knockout shots and fucking get bent up into a meme. I can do that. This fight was exactly what we thought it would be, but not to the level. I mean, if Stiverne was half as good as his mouth was at the press conference, this would have been a more respectable fight. But I don't know what to take from this fight. And here's the thing, and this is why boxing is such a funny thing, because the fans are always way extreme on one side or the other. People, no credit. Now, you got to give him credit. He still fucking knocked his ass out. This is what you do when you have a lower level fighter in front of you. This is what you're supposed to do. When somebody's ready to be taken out, you take the motherfucker out. And that's what he did. So you have to respect him. Now, on the other side, the people are like, see, this guy goes right through Joshua. Joshua's not going to be able to stand up to him. Let's pump the fucking brakes on that too. You know, I tweeted this out after their last fights. Not this most recent fight, but the one before it. After AJ fought Vlad and Wilder fought Washington, everybody was like, man, AJ just fucking whitewashes Wilder. He can't even stand up to him. He has no technique. He has some, but it gets very, when he gets excited, and not necessarily when he gets somebody hurt. It's when he gets excited, it kind of goes out the fucking door. And then after these fights, everybody's like, I don't think AJ can stand up to the power of Wilder. Also may be true, but he also has to get there. And if we saw anything from the first 4 rounds against what did I just lose it? I just mentioned it. Gerald Washington fight. Then we see like somebody with a little bit of jab and his height gives him trouble. So it's not as necessarily just as easy as him just going winging shots, because then he leaves himself open. And as much as, yes, Wilder has more power than Joshua, but I don't think they can take either one's shot, clean shot. So it's not that cut and dry on either side. So let's just pump the brakes on all that, okay? This weekend I want to talk about a few fights, and I'm gonna work my way around from the most important to the least important. Danny Jacobs returns against Luis Arias on HBO. Look, Jacobs overachieved. I actually scored the victory for him. I didn't have any problem with Golovkin winning. Obviously, he landed more punches, got the knockdown. All I had to do was, because I gave Jacobs 3 close rounds, and if you just give one more close round to Golovkin, he wins the fight. I think people have planted their feet and dug in on one side or the other on that fight. It always, as usual, it's always somewhere in the middle. But this fight could be either Jacobs is going to look great and continue the momentum off of the loss to, and that's such a weird thing to say, but there is momentum off of his performance and his loss against Golovkin. He's either going to snowball that and keep that shit going against Arias, who's not a bad fighter, just not as active a fighter as you would want. I know he's had some promotional issues and shit like that, but he's either going to look really good, or it's going to be a huge letdown going from Golovkin to Arias, and then you're going to get more of a not a lesser performance than what he had against Golovkin. Because if he comes in looking like he did against Golovkin, he's going to get Arias out of there probably in 7-8 rounds. If not, this is going to go to decision. It's going to be kind of boring. You're going to have people already jumping off the bandwagon saying, see, I told you he lost to Golovkin. And if he knocks out Arias in one, see, I told you he beat Golovkin. It's just how the boxing world goes, especially the fans. The fans are sometimes the worst. The undercard, Jarrell Big Baby Miller against Marius Walk. Look, Miller, he talks so much better than he fights. And he's not a bad fighter, but he's a fucking amazing talker. But his biggest problem is weight. Look, I'm sorry, you can't convince me that he's good at this weight. You know, if you say, well, he moves pretty good for as big as he is, he doesn't carry it as bad, he's not that flabby, it doesn't matter. The motherfucker should not be weighing 300 pounds. even if he was down to like 265, 270, that's 35 pounds less. That he would be so much better, so much quicker than what he is. His last fight was not that impressive. Was that when it was Kaufman? I think it was. I want to see him come. Look, I know I'm not asking him to do it all at once, but I want to see him come around in the 280s, in the low 280s at that, 283. I want to see some progression into where he's actually taking the sport serious and not just getting fat in between camps. Until then, you're not really going to be able to take him serious because somebody's going to just fucking pick him apart. You know, he can say what he wants to Deontay Wilder or to whoever else he's going to call out, Joseph Parker. It doesn't matter. Those guys will make him work more than he wants to work, and they will wear his ass out. He's not the biggest puncher ever. He's a good puncher, like a lot of, especially at 300 pounds. He better be able to fucking punch, but he's not that big of a puncher to where he can really carry that extra weight and really, I think, hurt what he can do in the ring. In the UK, Josh Taylor, we saw him come off. I think he's fought since, but everybody knows the victory against O'Hara Davies. He's got that 140 silver belt, WBC. He's fighting everybody's favorite human sleeping pill in Miguel Vasquez. This is a good fight for Taylor. Taylor's a young guy. Yeah, he's got that silver title. That Davies fight was a great grudge match. But this is the kind of learning experience that Taylor needs. We know Vasquez is a guy who moves. He's a guy who throws minimal punches, really sucks the fucking life out of a fight. So this can be a really good learning experience. And if by some chance Taylor can make an exciting fight out of this and actually take it to Vasquez and maybe even stop him, that's going to say a lot, because Vasquez, for as boring as he is and as a non-factor as people think he is, because they've you forget how long it's been since you've heard his name. The guy's been around forever. I mean, he had a belt for a while. He lost, I think it was Mickey Bay. He lost that title that he really shouldn't have lost that title in that fight. He doesn't lose to just anybody. It takes a really good fighter. I think he lost to Timothy Bradley, like in his fucking third or fourth fight. It was really early on in his career. But this is this is going to be a great learning experience for Taylor. I fully expect him to win. I would love to see a stoppage. That would really be a statement as Josh Taylor, because this 140-pound division is totally opened up with Crawford moving up. And we'll see another 140-pound showdown this weekend as well. On the ESPN card, we're going to start we're going to go down from the second tier fight. Artur Beterbiev against Enrico Kaling. I don't know how you pronounce it. This is a layup for Beterbiev to grab the IBF light heavyweight title that Andre Ward had vacated. Beterbiev is a guy who had a lot of buzz a couple years ago. It has died down. Let's see if he can build it back up. I don't know if this fight's the one to really get him back on people's minds, but he's going to get a title out of this, and it's incumbent on him after this to defend against legit competition to legitimize the hype that he had before. He's got to earn it all back. He's almost starting back from zero. Not all the way, but he's close to it. He took a lot of steps back. And I fully expect him to get a workmanlike 5th round stoppage, because that's just who Beterbiev is. But he's also flawed. And we'll see if his lack of activity in the recent past will hurt him in the beginning. But the main event, and this should have always been the main event. I don't give a fuck about Jesse Magdaleno. And there's a reason this should have been the main event. One, it's not an official eliminator at 140 pounds, but it quasi is, because it's kind of, this fight's going to lead to maybe a title fight for a vacant belt, or the final eliminator in a 4-way match against Amir Imam and I think it's Regis Prograis and forgive me, but anyway, this kind of is in that type of fight. It is a quasi eliminator, and you're gonna have 13,000 people there, over 13,000 people at the Save Mart Center in Fresno, California. And I've been talking about this guy since I think the second or third fight of his career. He's 20 fights in now. He's 20-0, 15 knockouts. Jose Ramirez from Avenal. I've been on this guy since day one for the most part. 2012 Olympian. The number one American-born ticket seller in the sport of boxing. There's no way around it. Yeah, he doesn't get the fucking publicity that everybody else has. And I'll say this. Say a guy like Shakur Stevenson. In, say, like 10 fights. He's selling 10,000 a fight. That would be fucking humongous news. People would be talking about this. Ramirez has been doing this now for about 3 years, selling 10,000+ for every fight he has in Fresno. And I think the last 3, this will be his third one in a row, 13,000+ tickets. Even more tickets than Terrence Crawford sells in Omaha. More tickets than Deontay Wilder sells anywhere, even in Alabama. More tickets than Adrian Broner sells in Cincinnati. It doesn't matter. He is the number one American-born guy. Now that Floyd Mayweather is officially retired, even though he was before, that fight doesn't count, this is the guy. I know nobody talks about that shit. I never understand that. I guess people say it was because the profile was fight. It doesn't matter. The profile is what you make it to be. Why? Because it's in Fresno? You know? He's in that line of selling tickets like a Crawford did in Omaha, or even a Broner did in Cincinnati, or back in the day a Michael Nunn did in Iowa. I mean, this is what boxing is supposed to be. A hometown guy filling out the hometown arena and bringing thousands upon thousands of people out in this fight against Mike Reed. It's going to be a really, really good fight. Look, I've never said Ramirez is the greatest fighter ever, but he is a very fun fighter. He's a very the style in which he fights is very very pleasing. You know, he's come forward. He's got a lot of side to side movement. Almost, it's kind of slowed down a little bit. He kind of had that Mike Tyson, you know, bending at the hips, side to side movement. He's kind of slowed down a little bit of that with Freddie Roach. Mike Reed is more of a boxer puncher guy, where Ramirez is more of a brawler guy. Not a huge puncher though. I mean, 15 knockouts, 20 fights, yes, but he's not a huge puncher. And in his last fight, he got dropped. Came back, won the fight easily, but he's kind of been through. He's kind of gradually built up the resume, the types of fights, the learning experience. I think this fight is going to be one that can really propel him. It's on ESPN. It's not going to get the pub that it should, but I want everybody to go out there and watch it. 13,000+ people selling out the arena in Fresno. And the word is, you know, this fight was supposed to be at the baseball stadium, the minor league baseball stadium in Fresno, which is probably about the same amount of people. Let's be honest, it was maybe about 10-12 people. So this is probably a better venue. But if he wins this fight against Reed, it sets up a fight against Amir Imam. That fight could possibly be, and this is what Steve Kim was saying, and he said it's not official, but he's hearing rumblings that his next fight could be at Bulldog Stadium at Fresno State, and that they could get close to selling that thing out. That is between 30 and 35,000 people. Do you guys understand the types of numbers that is? That is UK type shit that Jose Ramirez is doing in Central California. And shout out to the Central Valley. 209, baby. Represent all the time. That's where I'm from. So, and that's why I've always been on the Ramirez bandwagon, because Central Valley guys. There's not a lot of Central Valley guys out there. But I'm a fan of Ramirez. I think he's going to do enough. See, and with Reed, yes, he's the boxer, but he's also the shorter guy with the shorter reach. he's going to have to come inside, and it's not going to hurt Ramirez, because Ramirez isn't a guy who fights you at distance. He's going to bring you into he's going to bring you to him. So even when Reed thinks he has distance and he's getting inside on Ramirez, I think Ramirez, because that's his comfort zone, he's going to fall right in line to what Ramirez wants. I think you might see Reed take a slight early lead, maybe winning 3 of the first 5 rounds, but I think that Ramirez's pressure and the home crowd pushing him is going to get him at least 3 of the last 5 rounds. You're going to be looking this is going to be a really tight fight where people are saying it might be 5-5, 6-4. Look, he's probably going to get a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. He's the hometown guy. There's 13,000 people there to see him. And this is why it should have always been the main event. Give me Jose Ramirez in a 96-94 win over Mike Reed. I hope to see him against Amir Imam. I hope to see that at Bulldog Stadium. I may have to go home to go see that fight at Bulldog Stadium. I might have to do that. It just sounds like fun, man. It sounds like a good-ass time. I want to circle back around. Deontay Wilder, AJ. Been a lot of back and forth. Well, mostly on Deontay Wilder's side. And you see it. Well, Wilder needs to fight White to get to Joshua. Well, Joshua needs to come over to the U.S. because let's be honest, this is where the big boys play. Shit ain't the same. It ain't the way it used to be. We don't sell and we don't fucking move the tickets that they move in the UK. We also don't get the numbers on TV that we used to get. You know, Muhammad Ali would fight on TV and you get 40, 50 million people watching. That's not how this shit works anymore. Those days are gone. People who say that sound like the guys, the old white guys who want their country back. Meaning, I want the way it was when I was a kid. It's not like that anymore. Shit changes. For better or for worse, it doesn't matter. You cannot stop it. And right now, the heart of boxing is in the UK. He sells 90,000 seats. And make no mistake about it, Deontay Wilder knows that he needs to go to the UK. He's just playing hardball right now. If you saw the video they posted on Twitter, I think through the PBC, Wilder tells you that Joshua's the man. Even if he tries to say he's not. He says, I want to come to England to dethrone you. When he's telling him, I want to dethrone you, that's telling him, you wear the crown. You're the man. Even if he won't admit it, you know, there's subtle things that they say that it lets you know exactly what the truth is. So Wilder is doing his best to sell this fight. And you got to give it to him because Wilder is a fun fighter, man. Yes, he's flawed, and yes, you know, they both got chin issues, and Wilder's not the most technically sound guy. But go ahead. Are you really willing to put down like a couple $1,000s on Joshua to knock him out? I bet you're not. As much as you say you are, I bet you're not. And on the other side, are you really willing to put down a couple $1,000s that Wilder knocks out Joshua? Nah. It's easier to say it than to do it. And give Wilder credit. He's doing his best to sell this. He's talking a mile a minute. He's coming after Joshua, calling him a cheater, saying he's on steroids. Whatever. I don't even play into that. It's gonna be a fun fight. Go watch the first 4 rounds of that Washington fight, and you'll see just a little bit of size and a jab can really throw Wilder off, and Joshua can do that. We've seen that in the beginning, early stages of the fight against Klitschko. But also, when Wilder snaps that right hand on you, good luck. And you know, like, just from this far out, Wilder only has one way to win the fight. He's not going to win a boxing match versus AJ. AJ beats him probably 10 out of 10 times in a boxing, just straight boxing match. His one shot is to catch him, is to knock him out. But that's not a 1 in a million shot. That's not a 1 in 100 shot. It's more like a 1 in a 2, a 1 in a 3 shot. This is pretty close to a 50-50 fight because Wilder is long. Wilder, his counter right. He can set you up with a he can throw a nice counter straight right and just fucking knock you on your ass in a split second. It's overplayed to how bad technically he is. He is, but he also isn't always. And I think that's where the distinction needs to be made. He's not always like that. So that's a really fun fight. It's not going to happen right away. Does he have to fight Dillian White? No, but he probably will, because that money will say otherwise. When you're making more than 2 times what you've made to fight a Dillian White, yeah, you're going to take that fight, because Dillian White, he ain't that good. And AJ made a fair point. Hey, look, I don't call people out. And if you're going to call me out, well, call me out and then tell you we offered you the fight, and then say I'm ducking you. But don't say I'm ducking you because you called me out the fight and then waiting for me to offer you a fight. That's not how this shit works. And also remember, when the guy who's always running his mouth and calling out the other fighter, that's the guy who needs to fight more. Joshua is going to make fucking ungodly amounts of money selling 70, 80, 90,000 seats every fight. And so the leverage lies there. This is going to be a 70-30 fight. No, I'm sorry, people. That's just the way it is. Maybe 80-20. You never know. But 80-20 still is a lot more. Let's see, how can I put this? If I can equate it to Floyd and Manny, when people used to say, oh, take the solid 40 million because that's the most you've made. Well, the truth was, it was going to be the most Floyd made too, and that's why he offered a flat 40, because he knew he was going to make more money off it. He knew he was going to sell more pay-per-views. He knew he was going to sell more tickets. He knew he could get a higher price for them tickets. And so you knew it was more of a 60-40, even after the knockout. It was still a 60-40 fight. It was 50-50 before that. It was 60-40 after the knockout. Why? Because you go from 1.5 million to 4.6 million pay-per-views sold. You go from a $10 million, $20 million gate to a $50 million gate. I think it's a way lesser extent. AJ's going to sell the 90,000. He's going to sell the ungodly amounts of pay-per-views in the UK. The numbers aren't going to be that big of a significant jump. The only jump will be on the US side. There will be more of an interest, so there will be, if it's on pay-per-view, or the TV rights will be exponentially higher, but usually that will favor the American fighter, not the UK fighter. So financially, it's not like it's not a case of, well, if I'll make 10 million fighting these bumps, or I'll make 100 million fighting Wilder. No, it's I'll make 10 million or 15 million. So that's where it's not the same, and where Wilder needs it more, because he's either going to make 1.5 million over here, or he's going to go over there and make 7 or 8 million. See, the 7 million that he threw out was basically telling him, you need to pay me at least 7 million to fight Joshua. It wasn't for White. No matter what they try to say, it was for Joshua. That's his minimum number. And he'll probably get it. But if you see, that's a humongous jump from what his normal price tag is. That's what, 4 times more. 5 times more. Where Joshua will only get maybe 30-40% more, not 500% more. So, and that's where you know where AJ is more a position of power in negotiations. So let's let this thing play out, because it's not going to happen right away. It will happen, but it's going to happen in its own time, unfortunately. We're going to have to wait a little while, but there will be a lot of entertaining stuff in between there. Who knows, even the return possibly of Tyson Fury could fucking throw a monkey wrench in this whole thing. But it's going to be fun till we get there. They're both young guys. We're fine. What is it, 28, 27, 32? Wilder can go till he's damn near 40. We got a lot of time. Unfortunately, we got a lot of time, and they know that. So I wouldn't even possibly look for it next year. Maybe the beginning of 2019. That's just my opinion. I had to get it in. Of course, you know how we're doing it. I'm sorry, guys. It keeps on being solo podcast. I think we've only done one together in the last month. I apologize. We will get it together. I got some things planned for you for our break. We're going to take a month break, but I'm going to be throwing you a whole year of reviews in a show, maybe 2 shows. Break it down 6 months, 6 months. We'll have our end of year. That'll be 2 different separate shows. We're going to get you filled in. We're going to get all together, and then come the end of January when we're back in it, we're going to hook it up. We're going to be back together every week. I appreciate you guys sticking through all this up and down inconsistencies. I really do appreciate you guys. Do me a favor. Follow us on Twitter if you haven't. At Cheap Seats Box. iTunes. Big thing, guys. iTunes rate and review. You will be the next unofficial sponsor. It helps keeps us noticeable, and the way that iTunes is doing, or the way that the podcast app on your iPhone and your iPad, and where people are catching these things, and even on your iTunes, is getting less and less. So when you search boxing, only 8 of them now are coming up on my phone. But we're number 4, and that's because of listeners like you. We really appreciate it. Just keep doing that, please. Please, please, please. Because it just keeps the show noticeable. Like I said, people don't have to look for us. They can just find us. And that is a huge advantage over a lot of shows. So if you could do that, take the 2 minutes out to rate, review. 5 stars, we're the best show. Or 5 stars and tell us we're the shittiest in the joke. Fucking roasts, I don't give a shit. 5 stars, give us a review. You'll be the next unofficial sponsor. We will shout you out. And honestly, if you roast me and it's really fucking funny, I'll read the whole thing. I don't give a shit. I got no fucking ego with this thing. Email us cheapseatsboxing@gmail.com. Questions, comments, anything like that. We always get back to you. YouTube page, just to hit subscribe to it. That's it. Just hit subscribe. We're going to start growing that next year. We're 5 years in. I guess we start making some changes. This format's been working. We're going to keep this going. We're going to change up to YouTube a little bit starting next year. Guys, appreciate you guys. And you know this is where the fighters fight. And the fans commentate. And we do it just like you from the cheap seats, because we ain't buying no tickets. God damn it. Peace.
Again, I'll be the next heavyweight champion. Call me crazy, but no one can